And he said, check this out. You've used your brother molesting you as a crutch for your bad behavior. He said, and I won't allow that.
Yep, we are about to get into a very interesting conversation. Trust me, it's not going to be an easy one that we're going to have because it's been on my mind for some time now. And I want to hear you guys' opinions at the end of this video. But before we get into it, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel, like and share. And I'll say this one more time. Subscribe. When it comes to therapy, how long is too long? How often is too often before something becomes redundant and practically a waste of time? Monique makes an interesting point. She says that she didn't really change until her husband began to call her out for her behavior, and she was victimizing herself because of the terrible thing that happened to her as a teenager.
And this is why I feel the way I feel about my husband.
Okay.
I remember him saying to me one night, because when we first got together, I was a handful, Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was really sick in the way that I thought.
Right.
And he said, check this out. You've used your brother molesting you as a crutch for your bad behavior. He said, and I won't allow that. He said, when you was a little girl, there was nothing you can do about it. But now as a grown woman, every choice and decision you make, it is yours. And I will not allow you to keep on saying, because of my brother. Because at what point do you take accountability for you? Baby, that grew me up, and that grew my ass up that night so fast because I wanted to hear what my psychiatrist was saying to me. I understand. My husband was like, check this out. Check this out. You are in control of you. Every choice and decision you make, every one you lay down with, that was your choice. You've never come back to me and said you were raped. As a grown woman, you've never said that. So stop holding on to that crutch. Stop holding on to that victim. Because this happened to me. I'm mad for days, and I come up out of that.
Now, it is true that things do happen to good people. It's out of our control for the most part. But then how long is too long before you can recover from it and make better decisions and become a better person? Monique she's well past her 40s, I'm sure. And this happened to her as a teenager. One can excuse your late teens, your 20s, even maybe to your mid to late 20s. But come on now, when you're in your 40s and you're married and you're going to therapy often and you're not getting better, I refuse to believe that is the therapy that's at fault here. And this then brings to my question. How understanding should one be before one gets to know when they can let things go or when they should put into work to actually make themselves better and heal from their past baggages or from their past trauma, especially when it's not their fault? And it's funny because sometimes the truth, not sometimes, probably most times, there's a bit of harshness when it comes to telling someone the truth. Because when you have to tell someone the truth, nobody is going to like to hear it. And this is the issue that bothers me with therapy. Genuinely, I think therapy is a good thing. Therapy is one thing that I support. But when it comes to the mind is such a complex thing that nobody can really understand it. And I see therapy like going for health checkups. Averagely, if you're healthy, you should go for health checkups probably like once, twice, 3 times, maximum 4 times a year, in my opinion. And that's the same thing I should see with therapy if you have a healthy mind or a healthy life. Now, if you're going to therapy every week or every day for a long time, for years, I think there's something there that we personally as people are not being accountable for, or we're not taking responsibility for. And maybe that may not even be done. Maybe their therapist is not even telling the truth, because some therapists don't really tell you the harsh truth that you need to hear, because they just keep on saying they understand and leaving you in the pile of mess that you're in. And you can say the same thing with health checkups as well. When somebody is in the hospital and they keep on going to the hospital for the same issues for years, there's obviously something wrong with their body that the hospital cannot fix, or the hospital just has to help them manage. And when it comes to the mind, I see it as exactly the same thing. If you're going to therapy for years on a constant basis and you cannot take a step back and you cannot last a month or a couple months without talking to a therapist, there is something that you haven't done, or maybe it's beyond your power, to be honest. Maybe that is the case. My only concern is that when it comes to therapy, your therapist needs a break. What happens when your therapist is not available for a couple months because he or she needs to rest? And nobody really knows your history. With a therapist, they need to know your entire history and what caused you to be in that type of situation to begin with. So what happens then? Are we going to break down? Or are you going to break down? And sometimes, unfortunately, it may not even be the patient. It may be the therapist, because the therapist can sometimes be driven by money as an incentive. This is not for all therapists, but for some therapists, or a good majority of them, I am very sure that that is the case. Because if money was not being given to people for what they're doing, most of them will not really be doing it.
And when I went to the psychiatrist, right, everything my husband said to me, the psychiatrist said to me. But he said, I needed you to go to somebody that had no dog in the fight, because I didn't want you to think I was judging you. I didn't want you to think that because I know the history, I'm pointing my finger. So when I would go to that psychiatrist, Dr. Cassandra Wanzo, she's incredible. Y'all want to know about red bottom shoes? Let me tell you somebody that's going to get your mind right. Dr. Cassandra Wanzo, this woman was incredible. But every time I would go to session, everything she said, my husband had already told me. So me and men, I had to come to grips with that. I had to come to grips with being an insecure fat girl. And I had to come to grips with my sister telling me, ain't no man gonna ever really want you because you're fat. I had to come to grips with my father was like, listen, I'm here, but I'm really not. I had to come to grips with those things. So my way of coming to grips with those things was now I'm a boss. I'm independent and I'm empowered. Don't you know I run this? See, I too went to the Oprah Winfrey University of Empowerment.
So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. How understanding should one be of one's actions, especially when they keep on coming back to you to complain about the same thing over and over again? And I have realized that when you stop letting people complain to you and they deal with your shit by themselves, naturally, human beings are interesting. They just naturally seem to take accountability and grow up, because they know that that cushion that they could rely on to save them is no longer there. And this is why when I hear Monique talk, it kind of worries me, because the road to this conversation ending is not straight, and it's pretty round, because therapy can be the only source that people have for balance. And my question is, who can give you balance if you cannot even balance yourself? Sometimes you cannot control what really happens to your health because of some genetic or issues that are beyond your control. And sometimes you may not really be able to control your mind. But sometimes you also have to admit that the reason why people are not able to control their health or their minds is because they make terrible decisions. And how understanding should we be of that? Especially when it's been happening for years, to the point where you're almost 50, you're almost 60, you're almost 100. Unlike the mind that can't really be fully understood, there's no symptom that you can give somebody and is assured to deal with the issues, unlike medications that we have for the body. So, if not for the husband, would the therapist have just been understanding? If not for the husband, would Monique still be in the mess that she was? These are questions I ask myself, because nobody can really save you at the end of the day. Some people can help you be saved, but how long will you be in that mess until somebody helps you? Not all therapists are bad, but not all therapists are good. And I'm very sure that the majority of people in this world are bad. Only a few of them are good. But I believe that everybody have to figure out themselves at the end of the day. Let me know what you think in the comment section about my opinion, and I'll respond as soon as I can. But don't forget one thing. Subscribe to the channel.